Hi, everyone. I'm Summer,
I'm Carrie.
and this is Hopelexia Podcast.
Join us to talk about sex, drugs, and self-improvement.
Okay, so I have the microphone and the headphones now, so I can actually hear. Like a minute ago, it was just you two talking, and I was like, shit, the sound was not, it was like picking up the sound through the microphone. I was like, it doesn't have speakers, so.
Oh, wait.
Hmm.
Now that you mention that, I don't think the sound is coming into my ears either. I think it's coming off the phone. Hold on. Hey, that's better. Sorry if I've been screaming at you and didn't realize it because I couldn't hear.
It's bad.
I'm a little off today.
You know, same. Like this whole weekend. But I also just didn't take my meds today, so.
I've been trying to remember if I took my meds today or if it was just so late last night that I'm counting it for today. It's toss up.
Very fine.
I finally gave up and bought a pill planner.
I've got one of those somewhere.
because I can't remember. I'm like, am I remembering taking that today, or was that yesterday, or was that last week? I have no idea. Now I'm knocking my stand down. So I got a pill planner. So it's great for a week until I have to refill it. Then it's like, well, fuck.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I forget to refill mine, and I need I only got the one that just has like the one-time pills, but I need like two because I have morning pills for my ADHD meds because you can't take those like late in the day.
Right.
You'll never sleep again.
Not if you want to sleep.
I have nighttime meds. So.
I've never actually taken any ADHD meds. They tried to give me some at one point, but they were like, well, we got to get your depression under control. So they gave me meds for my depression, and they were like, oh, we have to have your anxiety and depression under control before we're willing to give you your ADHD meds. And I was like, okay. Tried those, and I tried 3 different variants, and that was the worst side effects I've ever had. Like I've taken shrooms a few times, and I probably should have said that. But anyway.
That's fine.
Yeah. Fine. But anyway, everybody's always like, oh, like you'll trip balls and all this stuff on shrooms. And no, like I'm assuming if it's like alcohol, if you took an absurd amount, then yes. But I'm not Mike Tyson. I'm not over here eating like chocolate bars of mushrooms while on an interview or something. But like the meds they gave me for depression, oh my gosh, I felt like my body was turned into like, the best I can explain it is I was laying in bed because they were like, oh, you want to take these like right before you go to sleep. And when they said they were talking like 30 minutes, and I mean like I had like 5, and all of a sudden my head started tingling, and I was like, oh, this is weird.
Oh, no.
So I like laid down, and then all of a sudden it felt like my body was sand, and it was like pouring in on itself is the best I can describe it. Is like just a tingling. Terrifying. Yeah. Oh, I thought I was going to die. I was like, well, this is it.
Yeah, I would have totally freaked out, and
I would have had a meltdown.
I would have given myself a heart attack just thinking about what is happening to my.
The only time anything like that's
terrible.
ever happened to me was when I got way too high from an edible, and I got seasick because it felt like I was on a boat.
Oh, okay.
I was just like rocking back and forth trying to get to the bathroom.
I've been on one of those Lord of the Ring experiences before. It was
terrible.
They're intense. This was much different though. It was just like, because my whole body was like I've had body highs before, but this was something totally different. And when I told the doctor about it, he was like, well, take it for a couple of weeks and it'll calm down. And I was like, I took it the next day, and I was like, nope, I can't do this. I was like, I am starting to feel like I might die any moment. And the first night I was just like, well, if I die, I die, but then I was like, maybe I shouldn't chance it so much.
Yeah, just keep experiencing this horrific nightmare for a couple weeks and see what happens. That doesn't sound like good advice to me.
That's what they said for my ADHD meds too.
Mm-hmm.
For my ADHD meds, they were like, just take them for 2 weeks and you're gonna have most of the side effects, and then they'll calm down. And I was like, love that for me. It's gonna be great.
See, I've never taken ADHD meds, and like I have to make. I've been trying to make another appointment for like a week. You know how that goes. Because I went to get new anxiety meds, and of course they're like, you really should have something that you take every day. Well, I can't remember to take. I can't be trusted to take my medication every day. You're gonna have to treat the ADHD before that's ever gonna fucking happen. So They gave me a rescue med, and now I need to go back for the. Yeah, like I said, been trying to do that for a week. We'll see how that works.
I'll send you
I
a
don't want
text
to call
tomorrow.
people. Well, my problem is I don't want to call people. I hate calling people. What is wrong with me?
Yeah,
I can do it for work.
Anxiety.
Mm-hmm. When you're paid to do something, you can rationalize it, but then when it's your free time, you're like, I don't want to be. I have a friend of mine who loves to talk on the phone for like 2-hour increments every time. My sister does the same thing. I try so hard to avoid calling them unless I have that 2 hours time set aside. And like now it's like me and him play Xbox together. So we get that time in there. So, that's a safe. I like that one much better than being on the phone for 2 hours straight. Some reason it makes me panic. I can't do other stuff while I'm on the phone. It just does not work.
I really, because Summer has called me with her youngest on the phone too. And like, I'll have friends that like come and hang out or just like be on the phone with them. But like specifically when like Summer calls me or like video chats me, I will clean my whole entire room or like house while I'm on the phone with her.
I don't know what it is. It
helps.
It's right. Like it's hard for her to get started otherwise. But if she's on the phone, she'll get up and do it. So we just sit there and talk to her while she cleans.
See, I've tried this tactic before of like cleaning while I'm on the phone with somebody, and I just misplace things because then later I'm like, I did not pay attention to where I put shit.
Because your brain wasn't focused on that.
My brain was like all focused on the phone call, like, okay, you're getting a new car. That's cool. Where the fuck did all of my tax go? And then it's a panic because I'm like, they're tax. This is a problem.
I was reading like a thing about that the other day, and it was like adults with ADHD. I think it was on Reddit or something. And they posted about how they're constantly losing things, and so they've designated like 3 or 4 spots for like everything, and those are the only 3 or 4 spots they're allowed to put stuff, and it's helped them so much. And I was like, I'm gonna do that. Even with the meds, I still can't really do it. I tried. So
I have a key box now, so all my keys and anything that goes in my pockets on the daily goes in that key box. And I keep telling everybody, I'm like, I need to take all the cabinet doors off of my cabinets because out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. Like I'll forget what food I buy. And then now I have like so many bags of chips right now. Like the same plain corn tortilla chips. I have 3 bags of them. And they're like the huge bags because I eat like a lot of like salsas and like, yeah.
We have nachos for days.
Yeah, for sure. People come over. I'm like, do you want some chips? No, take some chips.
I do that with vegetables. I'll buy like the pre-made salad mix and then forget it's in my fridge. Yeah. And then I have sad wilted lettuce at the bottom of my fridge.
There's a bag of spinach in there. It's not even open.
Yeah.
Stop putting it in the bottom of the refrigerator. Put it right on the front shelf, on the top shelf in the front. That's the only way you're ever going to see it.
That's fair, and I should do that. So I'm gonna try.
The only way.
If I put it in like an ice cream tub, I could find it. I guarantee you.
Yeah,
because you'll go looking, right? That's
I see that first. I'm like, oh, ice cream.
You'll be sad when you open it and it's spinach.
Now, see, this is whenever I blame past Victor for stuff. I'm like, you asshole. Wanted to eat healthy. You got me. All right, I'm in.
So if there was ever a better demonstration of the fact that we're all ADHD here, we forgot to do the introduction. Oh. So today, Victor is here, and so we can commiserate about our neurospiciness.
It's on brand. That's fine.
It's
okay.
Yeah,
we're real here.
You know what's crazy is I thought about that an hour ago. I'm like, do they have to have a lot of time for the intro, or do they just put that in at the edit, or yeah?
What is in there where we introduce ourselves is actually just an edit where from like the first show we just like chop that out and stick it at the beginning every time, and then we just introduce the guest because otherwise it never works right.
My name's at the bottom. There's like not much more to it than that.
Right. Like we'll forget. So we do that thing where when it's time for us to talk and it's something that's, more or less scripted, it's something that then we freeze and we're like, I don't know what to say. Even though it's just, hey, I'm Carrie. No. She forgets her name, right? And I'm like, what was I talking about? So, yeah.
Every time I can't it's really bad like for work because I have to call people and ask like specific questions, and it's the same way. Like I lose all of it. It's all gone immediately. Immediately forget why I'm here, what my name is, and what we're doing.
Right.
It's all gone.
No, you're doing much better than I have done. Like the reason why I have a microphone here and some headphones and this laptop and some other microphones is because I was going to start a podcast, and that's as far as I got with it because the endorphins kind of just like capped out at a certain point. And I'm like moved on to 3D printing, which I have 2 printers set up. One of them almost finished, and the other one I've printed a test on, and that's as far as I got with those. So, hobbies, ADHD, it's great.
Yeah, so if I ever get up that way with a couple hours of free time, I'll check and see if you're still hyperfixated on 3D printing, because if so, I want to see how that works.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, all my friends are like, oh, yeah, you need to print this for me. And, like, of course, they're asking for, like, gun parts and other things that they can, like, people are that they think they'd be crazy for me to print. And I'm over here just trying to figure out if I'm like, how the fuck do I get this to print level? Really in depth on it.
My stepdad does 3D printing, and he and my mom do like Star Wars, like trooping. I almost said cosplay, but it's not cosplay. Like it's called trooping. They do that, and they print a lot of like their armor pieces that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is kind of why so I go to these events and I always act like I'm not that nerdy. And then I went with one of my friends and he was asking me like all these questions. I was telling him like all these people, what they're dressed as, what it's related to, and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, God, like I thought I was a nerd, but he's like, you're like, I'm like, well, I just know a little bit about everything. And then like I started telling him about how I knew people that had a whole wedding because they knew a troupe in Hawaii that came out and did their whole wedding with Star Wars. I mean, like Darth Vader and the whole 9. And I mean, like it was pretty cool. But ever since I saw that, I was like, man, that would be kind of fun. But then I don't want to put myself in that universe either of like going and doing that stuff and being committed to it. I'm like, I don't know.
My parents had a Star Wars wedding in like 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. I don't remember. But they were in fact dressed up in their merc armor. Mm-hmm. The guy that officiated the wedding was dressed up. Their best man, the maid of honor, were dressed up. I was not dressed up. I wore a Star Wars t-shirt and shorts because it was hot. So I come from a long line of nerds.
Yeah.
So can someone help me out? What exactly is the difference in trooping and cosplaying?
So from what I understand, the troops, like they're a specific group, like they will all belong to the same number unit, and they have like ranking orders and stuff, and they just go out and do like I don't know, they do events like charity events, weddings, of course. They have meetings, whereas cosplay, you just put together a costume here at home and show up at an event and do it. I have some friends that do cosplay and get paid for it and travel all over, and I have some other friends that are in their troop, and their troop decides where they get paid to go to and what things.
So it's just a higher level of commitment to the cosplay,
yes,
basically.
Like,
okay.
My parents, they do like charity events a lot for like children's hospitals. They went to Disney and did like Star Wars Day. They do a lot of like cancer walks and all kinds of things like that, and people like pay them to be there, or they'll just go volunteer their time and go like every weekend. So they have so much fun. They even have little cards, trading cards, like Pokemon, but with their faces on it. So, and like
I didn't know that part. That's
on the back. So, it's beautiful.
I'm learning so many new things.
When my parents started doing it, I was like, wow, how did you guys find this? So, my mom has never been about that life, and now she's all about it. So
that's why I have a friend of mine that he's into swing dancing. He didn't even really dress Western, but his wife got into swing dancing class, and then it turns out it's like their national circuit swing dancing group, and she didn't know that when she joined, and she had done swing dancing younger. So she started asking him to go because she had taught him how to swing dance, and he gets there And now he wears like full cowboy get up and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, I don't really care for the boots, but I got to wear them all this weekend because I'm going to, Nashville and doing some kind of historic thing, and like travels all over the US doing it. And I'm just like, that's crazy. He's been on a few TV shows and stuff. Yeah. People get into things when you get older. I'm waiting for it. Apparently. Yeah. Just got to find my niche.
I mean, if you can find one to commit to, that's the thing, right?
Sure.
That's the ADHD thing is just kind of moving from one to another, right? So
right. That's the way I was looking at it.
I had the realization the other day, I've got 5 degrees, and it finally just hit me the other day that, oh my God, those were hyperfixations, and that's why I did not even care to use any of them after I graduated.
It happens,
Yeah.
It's the ADHD curse.
It's an expensive fucking hobby. Have you seen my student loan bills?
Yeah, I prefer my hobbies of like picking up like paint styles and like scrapbooking and journaling and like all of those things. They're much cheaper.
They are.
Probably less fulfilling.
That's okay. I don't plan to pay off my student loans, so it'll be fine.
I have a friend of mine that also, she's done what you've done, went through multiple degrees, and she even went through a culinary school and did that for like, I believe it was 5 years. She worked at some 5-star restaurant or whatever in Dallas and was like the head chef. And once she got that, she did it for like 2 years and was like, yeah, I've lost all interest in this. And went back to college up here at OU. And she's like, I guess that was just something I just really enjoyed the ride of. And then once the endorphins were gone, I was just like, well, this is not for me.
Right.
I'm just like, man, that is some long-term dedication to some endorphin chasing right there.
I mean, it's just the way some of us work. All right.
Oh yeah. Whenever I was a missionary for a while, and I was like super passionate about it, except for I started realizing I don't agree with the church or anything to do with what we were doing down there. But I liked working with the people and like feeding centers and all that kind of thing. And then once I started realizing that, I was like, why am I here? This is weird. Like, what am I doing? Once you almost get kicked out of Mexico because you're walking into bars and stuff, and the churches down there really did not like that. I started realizing I don't think I fit in with these people.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, we definitely don't fit in with those people. So
right.
the apostates that we are.
It's fine.
It's fine. We like it.
We're happy over here.
Yeah, Carrie totally caught me being shady to the proselytizers on Twitter the other day. I saw you liked them because it was from the channel's account, and then I saw her like it. I'm like, well, I'm glad she didn't get mad because I didn't do this on my personal account.
It made me laugh so hard. I don't even remember. It was like, I don't remember what they said. Like, it was about like staying away from like witchcraft and magic and all the fun things in life. And she like said something about how like God loves you, and Summer said,
she said Jesus loves you, because my original comment was that that doesn't apply to those of us who aren't part of the book club anymore. So continue living your best heathen life. And her response was, Jesus loves you.
And then Summer said, we've moved on since the breakup. Hopefully he will too. And I was like, should we get a restraining order? And then Summer replied that the Supreme Court ruled you can't get us a restraining order unless they're real.
Right. You can't file there. And this actually has gone to the Supreme Court more than once, because there's been attempts at lawsuits against Satan. And I think there was one attempted for Jesus. And that was their ruling, is you cannot file legal actions against them because they have to be real and be able to be served the petition. So
you heard
that seems illogical.
Jesus and Satan aren't real.
Yeah, that's someone actually did try to sue Satan because I believe it was he had lost a lot of money in a casino. And he was blaming Satan for his gambling problem. And so he wanted to sue Satan because it was his fault that he had a gambling problem or something like that. Law school, it's been a minute, but that was the gist of it.
as someone who worked in a casino for a while, I don't think it's Satan.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's just your brain releasing that dopamine when you get that small win. Then when you lose, then you blame Satan. So,
don't blame Lucy. He didn't do it.
Not him.
I didn't think I could ever get hooked on anything. Gambling is one of those things. I know.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like, it wasn't like I got like really bad into it, but it's like once you start losing money that you don't have, you start thinking like, okay, this isn't like something fun to do with my friends, because I worked in the casinos overnight shift. So the small town I was in that had nothing open during those hours that I was awake, that I was off. So we would end up going to the casino and drinking like early in the night. And then we were like, oh, we should go do something else. And they're like, well, we're here. We might as well play for a little bit. Then we would start making it a habit of doing that. And then before too long, we're all sitting there like, oh man, fuck, I've lost my second paycheck for the month. Yeah. Ugh. Which casinos don't pay a lot. So
right. See, I'm the opposite. I have such high anxiety about not having enough money to do what I need to do that I can't stand to put more than like $20 in the machine, and then I'm done.
Oh, I started that way. Believe me.
I am the least amount of fun to take to the casino. I'll go with my friends, and I'm like, I'll be DD, but the only money that I'm putting in this machine is what you give me, because I'm not losing my money.
Stay that way, because there's a threshold, and once you cross that threshold, then it's just like it gets easier and easier each time, and then before too long, you're like, well, this is really fucking stupid. It's not like I was ever out like over thousands of dollars or something like that, but I was out like a couple hundred, and I'll be like, man, this next couple weeks gonna be really tight. Like I didn't ever like sink it, but yeah. Had to stop myself before I started doing that.
Wow.
I worked in the casino as like a beverage girl, so I walked around with the tray. And I worked at like the bar and the restaurant and stuff, and I could not do it. Like I would lose like $5 and cry. I was like, I can't. I worked hard for that tip. Give it back.
Right.
It was not my favorite, and I saw so many people like gamble away like their whole like disability checks in there a few times, and it made me so sad. I was like, please go home. I like that. I like seeing your face and knowing you're okay, but please go home.
We had a lady that started out with a cleaning business that used to come in there all the time, and her and her sister had just started a cleaning business because they both lost their jobs. She had gotten divorced, so her husband made most of the money. So anyway, she was telling me this whole story about how when I first met her, about how she started this cleaning business, and it just kind of took off, and then she turned it into like a couple $100,000 a year cleaning business that she was running from Oklahoma City to Tulsa through like the whole east side of the state. And then she started coming in with she'd come in with these really lifted trucks with lights all over them and all this. Then she starts coming in a work truck, and then before too long she's driving an old beat up work truck, and we're like, what happened to your truck? And she'd tell us all these excuses, but then we found out that she was like $180,000 in the hole for the year from gambling. Yeah. And then she started getting the meth, and then we had to arrest her, and it was bad. Yeah.
Well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah. It was all like a year and a half of
knowing
her. Yeah, it went really fast.
That hurts me to think about.
Oh yeah. That was the saddest part of working security at those casinos, is because you would get used to people being there. And like some people knew that, like they were like, oh, I've got my $20 I spend every paycheck and see where it goes or whatever. And then some people had like their own savings account that's just for gambling. And if there's not money in there, they don't touch any other money.
Wow. What's that like?
Yeah.
To have a savings account.
Just for gambling. Right. Just having one.
At all. Yes.
We had a lawyer from Oklahoma City that would come in, and he would spend around $80,000 in write-off. And I don't know how he was doing it, but he tried to explain it to me one time, and I was just like, how is that legal to write off $80,000? Because he's like, well, I'm sitting here contemplating cases, so I write this off as like time of contemplation or whatever. And I was like, I don't think you can, like, I'm pretty sure that has to be in between each case, not like at the end of the year, I just got like this saved amount of money and I'm just going to toss it in here and see where it goes.
I never did tax law, but I was always told that you could count things like if you take clients to dinner or something like that. So like if you take one of your clients or your colleagues, you can do like a firm event or something, that you could write that off, but I didn't think you could just sitting there contemplating your cases.
The lady he brought could have been a client, but I think he was. But anyway, no, I'm just joking.
I mean, you know, no judgment here. Maybe she can write it off as a business expense too.
Yeah, that's they're helping each other out there, I'm sure.
That's right. Mutually beneficial relationship.
Quid pro quo. There you go. Right.
I don't think I could say that.
I don't even know what you guys said.
Quid pro quo. Well,
quid pro quo. No.
Tit for tat.
I get tongue tied trying to roll it too fast. Quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo. Is that right?
I hope somebody's tuning in just right in that spot, or jumping into that spot.
I'm not high enough for this, y'all.
I'm not high at all.
Neither am I.
So what you missed what we were talking about when you came in, Victor, was I was about to have a meltdown because so I don't know. I started smoking weed probably in, I don't know, high school, young teens. I don't know how. It's been a long time. And I used to be really good at rolling and stuff, but now I've had a lot of joint problems lately, right? So my wrist and my fingers hurt a lot, so I can't just roll like normal anymore. And so I've been using
having joint problems.
Yes, the wrong. I've got multiple kinds of joint problems apparently. So I've been trying to use the rolling machine, and it went fine for a long time. It was going just fine, but today I can't seem to make it work. Like I failed at it 3 times in a row and wanted to throw myself down and have a toddler tantrum because I can't figure it out and I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
The little rolling joint machine thing?
Yeah.
The little plastic thing?
No, not the one with the 2 wheels. The easier one.
That's See, I don't know how to roll joints at all.
The little.
Oh, okay.
Well, I gave my last.
Oh, okay.
And I gave my last. I'm out of cones, and I gave my last pipe away. So I guess I will just have edibles tonight. Call it good because
I only do edibles. I don't really like smoking weed at all. Like vaping it's fine, but like smoking it I don't really care for, especially like I didn't start smoking until I was 30. So yeah, and then I'm just like I like edibles. Edibles work great for me. Everybody else thinks they're terrible, but I'm like, they're great.
Really? That's what I usually use, especially for pain or to sleep, is the edibles. But sometimes I'm trying really hard today. That's why I was trying to smoke a little bit, which I smoked the last of what I had, a little bitty tiny. Anyways, because I'm trying to calm the ADHD a little bit, so I'm not talking over you guys constantly.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. I come from a family of all ADHD people. We yell at each other. Christmas is fucking crazy. It's just us yelling. Just a bunch of Irish people yelling in a room at each other.
Very loud, right?
It's very loud. It's eight conversations going across the room at the same time.
And I know you two can keep up with it, but I think our listeners will, their brains might explode, and then we'll get sued, and it just might not be.
Listen, you got to keep up with the Neurospicy people. It's like a marathon. It's okay. You'll get there.
So my 11-year-old just realized, he's ADHD too. And so I have 3 of my kids are bio kids, okay? The oldest one's autistic, but the younger 2 are both ADHD. And lucky them, I think they also got my joint problems and stuff. They seem to get all the bad things from my DNA too. So anyways, my 11-year-old has just realized that not everybody's brain is on rapid fire all the time like his. And he's like, so like he's trying to wrap his head around this, and he keeps asking people questions like, how well they can multitask and how many things they can keep up with at a time. And also, since he found out there are people with no inner monologue, he's asked every single person that we've come across since then if they have an inner monologue, because he can't wrap his head around this either.
See, I love that because I didn't know other people didn't have that either. Like, I thought
didn't either. That was
everybody
new
did,
to me.
but there's also people that think in like pictures and like not words, and I didn't know that was a thing because I think in constant words and it never shuts up, ever.
I think in pictures, but see, it's pictures and words because it's not usually just still images. It's still images, like say I'm reading something, right? So then the word, I get those pictures as I read the word. But if it's like a memory or I'm thinking through something familiar, something like that, it's like a movie in my head.
When I
And
read
so
it's
it's
like
words and pictures
in my head, and that's how I was like so ahead of everybody when I was reading as a kid, is because it was like a movie, and so it would just go really quick for me. But like when I'm thinking back in memories, it's usually like me thinking about like what happened, and I'm like talking it out to myself, and like I can visualize it, but it's weird how everybody's brains are like so different.
So are you an external processor where you would do better if you talk it out, whether it's talking to somebody or even just saying it out loud yourself, or is it all silently internal?
I think it's a mixture, because like there's some things I can like process by myself, but like big like topics, I have to have somebody else to talk to about it. Like things that I talk about in therapy, I couldn't process like the thought process. I couldn't process the thought process behind it.
We're with you.
Without like other people like there being like, why, like that doesn't make sense. Like why you're whatever you're doing, whatever for whatever reason. I was like, you're right. Like I don't know why I did that either, but I wouldn't know until I talked to somebody.
These conversations at work all the time because I started realizing like they think, okay, so one of the guys there, which I explained this summer, I think the other day, that one of the guys at my job thinks that I do stuff out of attention, and he thinks that his niece who has ADHD does stuff out of attention. I'm like, no, that's just how you think and how you process things. And I've been told this all my life, that like, oh, you're just acting out for attention. And I'm like, I could give a shit less if you pay any attention to me. I'm going to do this. I do the same weird shit at work that I do at home. Like I talk to myself very loudly. I make jokes to myself. The other day I was this may be just about how weird I am, but I mean, like, I think it's the ADHD thing. And I was making a joke about a pop can that was sitting next to me, and it like pinged all of a sudden loudly. And I don't remember what I said, but I laughed at it because it amused me.
Because it was funny. Yeah.
That's the thing is I tell everybody at work, I'm like, if I say something and you think it's funny, that's great. You're just a bystander in this situation, because I'm only saying it out loud for myself because I found it amusing. But we get in these conversations about like the way we process things and the way you think about stuff. And I was asking them, I'm like, whenever you're like thinking about a number, like whenever you're doing math, because we're working in engineering firms, so it's like constant math stuff. I'm like, do you just think and picture it like multiplication homework or whatever? Or do you have like for me, it looks like, and I don't know why this came in, but it's like, on C-SPAN, the scrolling at the bottom of it, of the one of their just throwing off Dow reports and all that at the bottom. Okay. That is how I visualize all my math in my head. It's all like scrolling numbers going by in red lights, exactly like the Dow reports on CNN.
That C-SPAN. Sounds stressful to me.
Because that will be going while I'm having a conversation, and like so I can keep up with the numbers while I'm talking. Okay. And it's just how my brain has sorted it out. And that's the same way whenever you're talking about reading, I picture like I can. If I'm telling somebody about something I've read, I can pull up the text and reread it later on, but I have to like really focus to do it. But my brain like keeps stuff all the time. So I'm like, I know it's in there, but then like in the middle of a conversation, I'll completely lose track of whatever in the fuck it was I was trying to think of. And I had to sit there for a minute. I look like a crazy person just for like, okay, never mind. I know what it is.
So that's the real reason I lie to people about how old I am. Because I don't know off the top of my head. I never do. Like my brain doesn't do that. And so then I have to do the math in my head. But for some reason, I was born in 81. And for some reason, that odd number throws me off on doing the math. And so then I have to like figure out how 80 and then to what anyway. So I look like an idiot because I'm sitting there like trying to do the math in my head instead of just answering them. So that's the real reason I lie to people about how old I am.
I always just round it to something that I'm comfortable with. I'm like, 35, 40, whatever. I'm somewhere between those two.
I'm old-ish.
I am a number. I don't know.
I do not identify as an age anymore.
I mean, my mom has been 29 for 5 years. Yep.
Yeah.
I stayed with that for a very long time just because it was easier than trying to remember how old I actually was until I 4 years ago I couldn't pull it off anymore.
My mom is in her 40s.
I woke up broken
and has she's almost in her 50s and has butt length gray hair. Will tell you she's 29. So
I'll go with it.
It's fine. Nobody questions it anymore.
Well, I always tell people, why does it matter? Nobody, it literally, once you turn 21, nobody gives a fuck how old you are, truly, until, you're ready for the senior citizen discount. So, why, right, why do I have to keep up with it? It's too much. I got better things to do.
I do really enjoy talking to, small kids about how old I am, because they're like, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So,
Because they think that number is so huge.
I don't. That's my favorite, though, because I worked at a center with, autistic children, and I had, how old is he? He was, 6 or 7, and he was like, Miss Carrie, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 28, and he was like, how? Did you have color TV? And I was like, yes.
See, that's why I like talking to them about that kind of stuff, is because they'll ask the most crazy questions, and you're like, wow, they really have no idea.
It's my favorite. I don't like talking about it with adults, but kids, yeah, it's fun.
That's I remember when I worked at a kids camp, I was helping them put something up on top of a shelf. And anyway, the kids saw some stretch marks on the side of my body, and they were like, what are those? And they started freaking out. And I was like, oh, that's where a tiger got me. I had all these kids convinced I'd fought a tiger. And they were like, wow. And they told all the other, they were like, what do these kids keep telling you about, telling us that you fought a tiger? And all the other camp guys I worked with, they were like, they were confused by it. I was like, oh, they saw some stretch marks. And I just go with it, man. I was like, I also convinced them another woman was Britney Spears because she drove a convertible and was blonde. She did not appreciate that. She got hassled every time she drove up in her car.
I love that.
those kids are going to believe that they saw Britney Spears until they're in their 30s and one day wake up at 2 a.m. Oh my God, he was lying. You're just going to have that light bulb moment.
You remember the guy that fought the tiger? I think he might have been lying about some stuff.
I don't think he actually fought a tiger.
This doesn't look anything like Britney Spears' autograph. What was she doing in Talahena, Oklahoma? That's weird.
I mean, but truly, what is anyone doing in Talahena, Oklahoma?
That's fair.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And to be sure you never miss an upload, make sure you turn your notifications on. And please come join us on social media so we can continue these conversations in between episodes. You'll find us at Hypoxia Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.